An already bruising campaign season is starting to leave marks. Violence forces Donald Trump to cancel a rally in Chicago. Also ahead, a teenager discovers a piece of debris on a beach in Mozambique. Could it be from missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370? And join us on a global quest. It's been done in 80 days, but our richer quest is taking the trip of a lifetime around the world in just 8 days. Hello, everyone. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Welcome to CNN Newsroom. Our top story this hour, Donald Trump's cancelled rally in a Chicago event takes a violent turn. These are the sort of signs that demonstrators brought with them to protest Trump long before he even showed up. Trump's event never took place. Instead, fistfights and scuffles broke out among the crowd as supporters and protesters clashed. Police were soon brought in to calm everyone down. 5 people were detained, with 2 officers injured. CNN senior Washington correspondent Jeff Zeleny was outside with the protesters and filed this report.
Well, these streets of Chicago, just west of downtown Chicago, are empty and quiet now, but it was a different scene only hours ago. So many protesters from around Chicago came out to stand up to Donald Trump. They said that they did not want him speaking here. He was supposed to be at a rally, and this is what we found on the ground just a few minutes ago, a crumpled ticket for a rally that didn't happen. One thing I was struck by at this rally tonight, walking among the protesters, was the diversity of protesters, really representing the tapestry of Chicago's diversity. We had blacks and whites, Mexican Americans, Asians, really something different than we've seen at a lot of Donald Trump protests. Now, inside it was a combative moment. Outside it was largely orderly. But this is a sign of something that is going to be continuing as long as the Trump campaign continues. The protesters we talked to were so happy that they stopped him from speaking here in Chicago. So that certainly will embolden others across the country. So this heated political campaign is certainly going to get a lot more heated. This race may be something that we've not seen in generations. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, Chicago.
Trump has protesters at nearly every event he does these days, and at times things have got out of hand before, but nothing like what happened in Chicago on Friday. Earlier, Trump spoke to CNN's Don Lemon. He defended his campaign and said the protesters were to blame, not him.
Would you like me to have them done, and you'd like to see people killed?
I'm just asking you the question. Are you going to do it?
I don't know. It depends on a case by case. But I mean, if you'd like me to have them, and people would have been hurt very badly tonight. I mean, again, I'm looking at scenes that just a little.
This
while
is
ago,
live, Mr. Trump. You're looking at these are live scenes.
I'm talking about. I've been watching all these scenes so many times ago, and they're 2 hours old.
Mr. Trump, I have to ask you just for clarification.
Most of the people have been dispersed, and we've been given great credit, and law enforcement gave us great credit for making the right decision.
Mr. Trump, I have to ask you just for clarification. You have no regrets about anything that you have said?
We have had great success. We have fantastic support, and we have fantastic supporters. We have said strong things when people were wrong. When people were wrong, we have said some very, very strong things. Now, getting back to before tonight, when I talk about illegal immigration, I have no regrets whatsoever. If I didn't bring up illegal immigration, it wouldn't even be a subject of the campaign, Don. It's become a very, very important subject. And if I didn't bring it up, people wouldn't even be talking about it. And frankly, it's really hurting our country badly in a lot of ways, from a crime standpoint and from an economic standpoint and from a drug standpoint. Drugs are pouring into our country through the southern border. It's hurting our country very, very badly. So if you think I should say, oh, gee, it's too bad I brought up the problem of illegal immigration at our southern border in particular, I am not at all. I'm very proud.
What about in particular the things that you have said in rallies about taking them out on stretchers and that sort of thing? Do you have any regrets about what you've said about protesters?
These were bad. No, I don't have regrets because these were very, very bad protesters. These were bad dudes. They were very rough, tough guys, and they did a lot of damage before they were taken out. And they weren't taken out on stretchers, frankly. They weren't. They ended up doing damage.
And as we've seen and been reporting, protests have become a common element at Donald Trump rallies. The Washington Post's David Swerdlick joins us now with analysis. David, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Linda.
Now, this morning at 3:44 a.m., Donald Trump sent out a tweet. I want you to have a listen to it. He said, "The organized group of people, many of them thugs who shut down our First Amendment rights in Chicago, have totally energized America." Firstly, to you, David, does Donald Trump not sleep? And secondly, are these vocal and violent outbursts good for the democratic process?
So, Linda, right to your first question, Donald Trump has been very effective using Twitter and social media throughout his campaign, and I don't know if he sleeps because he does frequently tweet late at night or early in the morning, as the case may be. In terms of the content of the tweet, I would say this. Look, I think it's reasonable to expect that when his event is canceled, that Trump will have something to say about it, and I don't think it's hard to predict that he would criticize the protesters via that tweet. That being said, I'm not totally clear that this is a First Amendment issue. As your viewers know, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution actually protects people from being censored by the government. It doesn't precisely cover being shouted down by protesters or having an event shut down by protesters. That being said, clearly Trump and his supporters feel like he didn't get a chance to speak, that protesters are trying to muzzle him or silence him, and it's predictable that that is sort of the response. The protesters probably feel, on the other hand, that Trump has had an enormous amount of media coverage in the last several months, that he has directed a lot of comments toward Muslims, toward Latinos, toward African Americans, that people feel is divisive, and people are now pushing back on that rhetoric.
David, some of the vocal protesters at the Chicago Trump rally are Bernie Sanders supporters. How do you think Sanders should respond, and does he have a responsibility to speak to his supporters?
Sure. So I imagine there are some Sanders supporters and supporters of a lot of the candidates who are among the crowd. If you saw the coverage, and many of your viewers saw the coverage of the demonstrations last night, there were people holding Sanders signs. I will wait till some of the reporting comes out to see just how many of these supporters were Sanders supporters. But in terms of the candidate, look, Senator Sanders handled protesters very differently last summer when he was actually protested at an event in Seattle, at an outdoor event. He had Black Lives Matter demonstrators stop a speech that he gave at the Netroots Nation convention last summer. And his response in the immediate aftermath of those incidents was actually to seek meetings and sit down and meet with representatives of these protest groups to try and discuss some common ground. I'm not sure that that will be the response of Donald Trump's campaign. I'm not sure that would be popular with Donald Trump supporters, but Trump definitely has an opportunity here, Linda, to try and figure out a way to sort of shift the tone in the campaign, rather, if he wants to.
Yeah, I doubt that Donald Trump will respond in the same way as Bernie Sanders. David Swerdlick, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.